kind of building towards it now. We know that agents are working hard to try and move some players on. Clubs are working hard to look at players to bring in. Pete, if Leeds went down, they've got a lot of good players in that squad, a lot of players who could maybe help buffer that drop from the Premier League money. Who would you think is most likely to be leaving the club if they were to hit the Championship?
Yeah, worst case scenario for Leeds, if they do go down, they do have some sellable assets in that squad, which they can bring big revenue. And obviously, I think Meslier will be a top target for a number of clubs if Leeds were to go down. Very good young goalkeeper. Already got a lot of experience from a couple of seasons in the Premier League now as well. And there are a lot of big Premier League clubs looking for goalkeepers this summer as well. You've got the likes of Chelsea, Manchester United, Spurs, all in the market for a goalkeeper as well. So I think if Leeds do go down, Illan Meslier will definitely be figuring on the wanted list of those three clubs as well. And I think Leeds could demand top dollar from him as well. You're probably looking at maybe the £40 million mark for him. I think he is that good. He's got real potential to become probably France's number one in the future as well. And I think he's got all the attributes to be one of the top goalkeepers in Europe going forward as well. So he'll be one to keep an eye on what they're going to do with Weston McKennie. If they go down, there's no chance they're going to be doing that deal on a permanent from Juventus. Obviously, I think there's a £30 million obligation in there to sign him this summer. If they do stay up as well, I don't see that deal happen. I'm not sure that deal will happen even if Leeds stay up. I've got my doubts over whether it could happen. But if they go down, there's no way they could afford to sign Weston McKennie. And I don't imagine Weston McKennie will be looking to drop down to the Championship as well. So that's another one that they're waiting to see what happens, depending on relegation. But as you said, other big names that they could possibly sell. Willy Gnonto, obviously there's been lots of speculation about his long-term future at Leeds in recent weeks. He's been one of the shining lights for Leeds in the last couple of months. And again, full Italy international, young player with huge potential, scored at Old Trafford. He's a real live wire, I think it's fair to say. And already a big fans' favourite at Elland Road as well. So the Leeds fans wouldn't really want to lose him. But I think if Leeds were to go down, they'll find it really hard to keep hold of him. Teams in the Premier League like the look of Gnonto, and obviously he's got a lot of interested clubs in Italy, Serie A as well. So again, you could probably see him being sold for £40 million plus as well. I think if Leeds were to go down, I'm sure other players, maybe Somerville, the younger talented young player, has shown what he can produce in fits and bursts for Leeds United as well. So I think there'll be a bit of interest in him if Leeds were to go down. I think there'll be a number of clubs keeping tabs on his situation. And then you've got the Spanish striker Rodrigo as well, who's the highest earner at Leeds United right now. And I don't think they could be afford to keep him at the club if they were to go down to the Championship. And he's getting to that age now as well, where I don't think he would entertain playing a league down as well, rather than the Premier League as well. So that might be a way for Leeds to balance the books, is to maybe get some of their bigger earners off the wages and maybe trim the squad as well. But again, I think they spent a bit of money in January, so with Volber coming in to bolster the defence, and obviously they spent a loan fee on Weston McKennie and big wages as well. So I think they've spent a bit of their budget already for the summer, bringing those signings in. I don't think they really wanted to spend too much initially in January, and maybe Adam knows better than me what maybe will happen with this 49ers investment if the worst does happen for Leeds and they do suffer relegation. There will have to be major concerns if that deal will go ahead, or it will definitely be on reduced terms anyway, I think, if they do go down to the Championship.
Well, just on that quickly, a couple of those players you mentioned there, Pete, just on Meslier, Chelsea have looked at him for sure, watched him. Chelsea are obviously one of their number one targets is the goalkeeper position. So we do know that they've looked at him, but also Pete, just to mention some of the players you watched, Somerville, Meslier, and a few others, they're all contracted to 25-26 as well. So they're on good deals that can get the club good money. And Gnonto is definitely one that would attract top talent. He's a top talent that's getting interest from all over the place. So sorry to cut in on you there, Adam. 49ers, carry on if Leeds go down.
Yeah, well, obviously it's a massive factor, isn't it, at the moment? I think what you're kind of hearing increasingly is that the takeover will go through regardless of what division they're in. But Pete's right. I mean, it's likely that would be at some sort of reduced terms. So they've got a put and call agreement at the moment that stipulates if it happens between before now and January 2024, that'll be at a pre-agreed price, and that's sort of valuing the club around 500 million quid. Obviously, if they're in the Championship, the revenues aren't as big, and then that affects the valuation of the business. So I think the 49ers would want to redress that. But yeah, my instinct is that we will see it happen this summer, regardless. I mean, it's very interesting, isn't it? I think a lot of investors are sort of seeing opportunity costs in the Championship at the moment, particularly at sort of big clubs like Leeds. So, I mean, if you can knock off, I mean, I'm sort of spitballing with figures, but 100 million quid off the price of the takeover, then they only spend one season in the Championship, and ultimately they've made a saving there, I think, because then the value rockets back up.
It's a huge risk to take, though, isn't it? Because so
it
many
is,
clubs go
yeah.
down and stay down. And Leeds, I know the circumstances with the finances were different last time, but look how long they were out of the Premier League.
Yeah.
And looking Notts Forest to have just come back and these things, it's a very big risk to do that.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's definitely a good point. But then I think investing in a Championship club is a risk that a lot of people are taking anyway. And, you know, they're all losing insane amounts of money. So you may as well back a horse that's got, you know, the big brand like Leeds has, is one of the biggest clubs in the country. Ultimately, I think they're probably not insulated from failure, but they have got more of a cushion than they might have done previously, you know, if you're going back sort of 10, 15 years. Yeah, I mean, my instinct is we'll see this happen at any rate in the summer. I think that's what they've wanted to do for a while now. The 49ers have been, as I understand it, sort of funding the bulk of transfers, or at least more than their 49% or 40, is it 47%? 44%, in fact, it is. Because, I mean, they're the ones that are going to be bearing the costs anyway, because the way that transfers work, it's all amortized and installed. So that's been the dynamic. And I don't see it really knocking them off course majorly if they were to go down. It's a long-term ambition, sort of a capital appreciation plan they've got. They're looking 10 years. They're not looking short-term. But yeah, obviously, it's a massive risk, and you have got to factor that into any business decision you do make, the possibility of relegation.
Yeah, I mean, they won't be able to cut their cloth again accordingly if Leeds go down. They'll pay Championship prices rather than Premier League prices. And I suppose you could make the argument that investing in any football club is a risk of some aspect. But we're seeing more and more of that. It seems to be the manager sackings or takeovers this season. Then some sort of aspect or investment. That seems to be what's happening. Pete, whether Leeds stay up or down, doesn't matter what one. What areas of the team would you look to? You think they're going to be looking to strengthen? My understanding is they're looking for a striker. We also put out the story about Mimi Ferran Varos, a player that scored a lot of goals. It's been linked to the likes of Celtic and stuff in the past. And we know Leeds have watched him on multiple occasions and are close with his team. But do you think that's just the main area for them to look at, or do you think you can see them strengthen anywhere else across the pitch?
Yeah, I think they'll definitely be looking at all areas of the squad to try and strengthen. Again, a big question mark over all this is who's the manager going to be long term as well. Obviously, Javi Gracia is in there right now and has done a decent job so far since replacing Jesse Marsh. But will he get the job on a permanent basis if Leeds go down? Who knows? Maybe not. And again, I think if he does keep them up, there's a real good chance he'll on a permanent basis as well. So obviously he will have some type of say on what goes on in the transfer front from Leeds United alongside Victor Orta. But as you said, striker is one of the top priorities. They obviously spent really heavily on Jorginho Rutter in January from Hoffenheim, and that move just hasn't worked out as yet. Obviously, he struggled 4 minutes in that Leeds United team right now, Rutter. So maybe it wasn't the best ideal situation for him to come into a team in a relegation battle. Obviously, he needs time to adapt to the Premier League, and you don't really get time when you're in a relegation battle. You need your new signings to hit the ground running, and it was hoped that he would score the goals to try and fire Leeds to see. So maybe there's more to come from him as well in that respect. I think midfield will be an area of the team they'll be looking to strengthen as well. As I said, the Weston McKennie deal, it's got major doubts whether that'll become permanent, so he'll need replacing. Adam Forshaw's out of contract in the summer as well, so from my understanding is that he will probably be moving on. I think he'll be getting a new contract at Leeds, so that's another place in the squad that they'll need to fill that void as well. And I think a centre-back's also on their list of targets that they want to try and bring in the summer. They've obviously used the new boy Wober as a centre-back rather than maybe his preferred position of left-back so far since his arrival. So if they can bring in a new centre-back, a right-sided one, I believe, is somebody that they're looking at just to bolster the numbers. They let Llorente go to Roma as well in January. So I don't think he'll have any long-term future at Leeds following that move. So probably the spine of the team. You're looking at Fraser, really, that Leeds are looking to strengthen. Centre-back, central midfield, and probably a striker. And then who knows what's going to happen with Meslier. They'll be hoping to keep him. But Joel Robles is out of contract as well at Elland Road this summer, and I'd imagine he might move on as well. So then that might need to bring in goalkeeping cover if they do keep Meslier, which our Leeds fans are hoping they do.
The goalkeeper position is interesting. Meslier is interesting because there will be an offer for him probably of some sort from someone. They might just test the waters whether Leeds are up or down. I think that's likely to happen. The striker position, Bamford, you've spoke about, is good for them, but real fitness issues. They obviously, if the new guy comes in, doesn't hit the ground running, so that's the spine of the team that they will massively strengthen as well. It's going to be a really interesting season for Leeds. But just on the manager front, Garcia's done a good job. To the most point, it's a difficult situation to come in, isn't it? I mean, unless you're Sean Dyche at Everton, for example, and you're walking into a situation he's so used to, it's a difficult one. Do you think if Leeds stay up, Pete, and I'm asking for your opinion rather than your insider info here, do you think that it's more likely he stays? Do you think Leeds just go with that, or do you think they could look around? Because the more managers are sacked, the more good managers become available.
Yeah, I don't think there's any guarantee that he will get the job on a permanent basis if he keeps Leeds up. That's the job he's been brought in to do on a short-term deals, just to ensure Leeds stay in the Premier League. That's pivotal for the club. But as you said, Fraser, there is obviously other managers out of work right now. There will be probably other managers who lose their job.
Yeah, well, as we know, you've got Brendan Rodgers, you've got Graham Potter at the moment. I mean, there's so many managers who are out of work. Busy summer ahead, exciting summer ahead, whether it's Leeds or not. Make sure you follow Pete. You can get him on Twitter. Pete O'Rourke, he's there. He's Football Insider's transfer correspondent. You've got Adam on Twitter as well. I'll put all the information in the description below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.